10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. It's go time. What?
Well, hello, everybody. That's right. It's Squatching time. It's the Wednesday show on Wednesday where we all, hey, of course, the second the show gets going, they want to start barking. Hey, no, stop it. The problem is it's a sunny day and all the dogs is out walking in the neighborhood, and these guys are just like, I want to front on those dogs. But anyway, welcome to the Wednesday show, my friends, my family, my pot squatches. Let's go back to the beginning here. We're going to say hi to everybody real quick there. Puppies? No. Hello, Kenneth R. Knox. And I will say the original comment that I made at 11:29 a.m. this morning, this goes out to Mike. And I believe it's Mike, who used to be Minneapolis Mike on YouTube. And I believe you put in an order. It's gone out. It went out a couple days ago. I'm sorry for the late send out on that one. To be completely honest, I didn't notice that an order had come through. And then all of a sudden, our company account was like, oh, we received a payment. I was like, oh, crap. I didn't think we got an order. So I double checked. I was like, oh, shit, we did have an order come in. It's been packaged. It was sent a couple of days ago. It should be there very, very shortly. And I apologize for the wait on that. That's me being a dumbass and not noticing that an order came through our website. But that goes out to the one who was once, I believe, Minneapolis Mike. I'm not going to say your legal name. But Mike, last name not mentioned. You know who you are. That's what happened with that one, man. All right, so let's go back. What's up, WB Growers? Good to see you, my friend. What's up, Anthony Cordero? Good to see you, buddy. What's up, Miss K's Garden? Good to see you. What's happening, Sean Imfeld? Good to see you. What's up, Saul Stanley? Rafael Gonzalez? Good to see you, buddy. All right. What's up, Vic Victor? Good to see you, buddy. Tony Clifton, what's happening? Were the dogs part of the settlement? Yes. In terms of my separations, you mean? Yes, I got sole custody of all the animals in my separation from the ex-Mrs. Potsquatch. They are now exclusively my little dipshits. So sweet, so hairy. Anyway, my friends, I hope everyone's been having a wonderful week. I hope all of your plants is doing well. I don't know if any of you got the chance to check out the 3 weeks of flower update video that we released on Wednesday there. Nope, not Wednesday, Sunday. Today's Wednesday. We released those videos on Sundays. But man, I'm going to tell you, I am blown away. One, just by the development. Now, I knew the development was going to be bigger than I'm used to with the new technique that we kind of wired in of slowly reducing the photo period for about a week and a half, 2 weeks leading up to the flowering period, kind of slowly working our way down to almost a 12-12 on flip day. You know, it would have been about a week and a half because we started really doing that and whittling our way down. I think I did it for a day or two before we transplanted. So I did it for like a day or two there, and then we transplanted, and they sat in those pots and transitioned after the initial training for about a week and a half before flip. And so that's basically how it all went down. You know what I'm saying? What's happening, Deborah Fletcher, my fellow Fletcher? Good to see you. Daleski OG, good to see you, buddy. Barayon Nobriga, good to see you, my friend. Mahalo, I hope you're doing well down in Hawaii. I will be growing for life. I love the name. Good name. Welcome to the show, my friend. What's happening, Crazy Train? Good to see you. All right. Mudswat says, I have 2 little baby seedlings. Helmet head, kind of stunted one. What? I'm assuming helmet head is actually a name of a strain, and it is kind of stunted. I need to plant seeds deeper. Again, Mudswat, I mean, if you're planting a seed and germinating in the soil, again, you don't want to go too deep because a lot of seeds, even if they're older, especially if they're older seeds, they've got very limited energy and an ability to create that initial rootlet when they're sprouting from the ground, okay? So especially on older beans, you're not going to get as high of a germination rate. You're not going to get as aggressive germination off of bean. So remember, there's limited energy to get that thing through the dirt. Having it go through a little bit of a dirt is a good thing, you know. A little bit of dirt is good. But what I do, right, and you know, again, I've said this 1,001 times over the 7 years that I've been the pot squatch, but I like to go to about 1.5 centimeters, realistically. A nice 1.5 centimeters rootlet is the perfect size rootlet to actually go plant your sprout in terms of whatever selective medium that you're going to go with there. So I do my soak, okay? Then I do my paper towel. Certain, you know, habits don't, you know, they die hard, but it's old school. It works. And then you plant that, and you know, I'm only putting them maybe like this much underneath the dirt. I just want them to kiss through it a little bit. But really, the main part is having that rootlet established, and then it's going to explode on you. Okay. Sometimes if they're a slow grower at the very beginning. That can go away over time. They're just kind of coming to terms with themselves. I've seen that a lot with plants, but also some genetics are just slow in general, or they're slow at the start, right? So, hell yeah. All right. 1 second here. I'm just going to read everybody's messages here. Thank you, WB Growers. I'm also feeling fairly positive about how the plants themselves are looking. 1 second, everybody. All right, there we go. But yes, I'm feeling very positive about these plants. I'm feeling very positive about this new technique that we've been playing around with here at Pot Squatch Growers, building up to the transitional period. Oh, helmet head, as in when it doesn't fully shuck itself. Again, don't help that along. Allow it to shuck that seed whatever way it takes. Yes, sometimes it has to work really, really, really hard. Have I never not helped it along? No, I've helped a couple of times, but let it do the work. Those bicuspids are going to be growing and getting bigger. So when that explosion happens, when it shucks its helmet itself, as you called it, that husk of the seed, okay, is fighting that off is really good for it initially. So again, let the plant fight. It's okay. It's not going to hurt your plant. If anything, it'll make it stronger. Bear with me here. I'm reading everyone here. I'm reading and catching up. There you go. Oh, God. Everybody, just to quote Jason's joke here. Jason's like, wow, 1.5 centimeters? Man, that's perfect. I could just use my penis as a ruler. Oh, man. Good joke, Jason. I like it. Very funny, buddy. What's happening, Roman Reckless? Good to see you, baby. What's happening? Anyone I've missed? Eugene Dolan in the house. Good to see you. And again, if Minneapolis Mike, if you've popped into the show, your order went out a couple of days ago. I said at the beginning of the show, but I'll say it again there. I apologize. I didn't actually notice that order until like money showed up in our account. I was like, oh, I didn't think we had an order in the store at the moment. And then I was like, oh crap. So I got that sent out a couple of days ago. But yes, anyway, moving on. What do I have to share with you from this week? I mean, I'm sitting here basically a day before exactly 3.5 days in flower. There's a huge explosive growth happening with our flowers, and I'm very excited about it. I mean, I'm in love with this new technique that, we will be honest, originally was birthed by me being kind of lazy, but then we figured it out and contemplated, and then we justified it, and then boom, all of a sudden it's a very much a thing leading to good establishment. To the Facebook user who messaged at 3:09, my night is going well. Remember, if you're coming to us from Facebook, there is no name associated with it on the show. Your messages do come through and I am able to read them, but it just says Facebook user. So if you are someone coming to us and talking through Facebook and you'd like me to know who you are, give me your name, give me your first name, or give me a hint or something that'll spark my brain of knowing who you are. If I don't personally know you, well, you can come up with a nickname and we'll call you that in the show. All right. I'm just reading here. Roman Reckless says, definitely when germinating seeds, there's a fine line of babying them too much. Oh, for sure. You got to let them grow. I mean, I was just talking to a dear friend. Oh, it's Ash. What's happening, buddy? Good to see you, yo. What's cracking, lacking? Okay, I distracted myself again. I gotta stop doing that. What was I saying? Oh yeah, when it comes to seeds, I was actually just having a conversation with someone out in New Zealand who ordered some of our beans, and they were playing around with them. And they were sharing kind of, they're newer to growing. They haven't grown a lot. And so they kept running into, over loving their seeds, over loving their plants. And I shared with them, that's a very common mistake. I mean, when I first started, before I really knew what I was doing, I did that a lot too. We all do it, especially when we're newer growers, right? Like, I mean, one of the number one lessons I've learned about growing good, great, or amazing weed is like, there are times where there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of finesse and technique. And sometimes it's a lot of hard work at times, being the key word. Overall, most of the time, the trick to letting weed grow is just let it grow. Don't fuck around with it. Let it hang out. Let it do its thing. Don't mess around with it. Just let it do its thing. Obviously, make sure it's got enough moisture. Occasionally, let it dry out, then hydrate it. Then transplant when you need to. Occasionally doing, selective defoliation or low stress trading or other things to help utilize that. Yes. Transplanting into the appropriate size pots, your lights, all these other variables are important. But often, many of us are guilty of overloving our plants, especially when we're newer growers at the very beginning. What does this mean? I'd say probably the most common mistake would be overwatering. That's why I always advocate when you've got your seedlings going, little spritz bottle, just pss, 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 pss. It'll help protect you from your overzealous love. Also, when your plant is a baby, it doesn't need fertilizers, everybody. You do not need to be introducing fertilizers if you've got decent dirt, okay? If you're growing in dirt. Obviously, if you're growing in some cocoa and shit, well, you're going to have to do a very mild dressing because there's no real inherent nutrition to growing in straight cocoa. But let's say that way, right? Like you're in, obviously in an aeroponics or hydroponic system, that's a whole different reality. But let's talk about dirt. Basically, good dirt should have enough juice, shall we say, for the first, 2-3 weeks at bare minimum. And really on a baby seedling, you do not want to feed when they're that young. You're going to hurt the developing root systems, right? So, and it's a thing. It's a story as old as time when it comes to growers, especially when we're new. You know what I'm saying? We like to love our plants, and there's nothing wrong with that. Tony Clifton, can you over water in cocoa? Yes, of course you can. It's not so much that it's not quite the same as dirt, but yes, you can definitely overhydrate your cocoa, especially when it's a little baby. You're still going to have a lack of oxygen leading to root rot. And, that was one of the things that this newer grower in New Zealand had done too, was when they showed they were doing my technique when it came to soaking and paper towels and all of that. And so they followed the basic premise. But when I saw how wet their paper towels were, they were sopping wet. And again, they're suffocating their beans. So again, got to be careful. And then another thing, what he did was first he fed them too much and then he hurt them that way. And then he wanted them to have a humidity dome and move them outside into the sun by accident. And again, no, we're not making fun of that. We're not laughing at that. It's all about learning, and killed most of his plants. One survived though. One galactic citrus Shiva was strong enough to survive, and she kept moving forward. Hell yeah. Shoot me a message on Facebook afterwards and we can chat, yo. All right. Sean Infield says, I sparked this shit up right now. Sparked up. All right. And Brian Nobriga says, I love some super soil. Feeds the babies enough. I mean, Brian Nobriga, a properly executed super soil is a wonderful way to go. And it's a good way to grow your weed titties. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Blues Man? For you, good to see you. Sean Infield says, bro, it's hard to survive in an illegal state. And I mean, I totally feel you. I totally feel you. I my heart breaks on behalf of, well, because I believe it's at least roughly half of America still is mostly illegal states in terms of state level. And at the end of the day, I do believe in the coming years, more and more states that still haven't hopped on the bandwagon will go at least medically legal. Then eventually you'll get rec. I mean, every state's going to do slightly different orientations of how they implement their state level law when it comes to what you're going to be allowed to do or what you're going to be entitled to. But, at the end of the day, I think really they will come about. And if I was an American living in America, and if I was in a legal state, and I really wanted to not worry about that anymore, frankly, I just uproot and move somewhere else. That's what I would do. I know it's harder. It's easier said than done, but I would start working towards it. If it was like, if I was in a state where I was concerned that it wasn't going to happen for a while, I'd just move. I figure out a way. I figure it out. You know what I'm saying? No. So Roman Reckless, I have managed to fix all the fragility and stupid things that I witnessed with the alien rift. So its fragility to cold, its fragility to other exterior variables have been treated, fixed, and the Galactic Citrus Shiva is a much heftier, stronger, resilient, tough lady. She has definitely pulled a lot of strength out of that orange Hindu Kush in terms of that crossing. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that one stuff. I feel you, man. I feel you, dude. I mean, for many years, my roach jar was a quintessential component to my life as well. And then, well, I got to a certain point and it didn't matter anymore. But it comes in time. Roman Reckless, I answer that. And then that one stuff says, I can easily move to a legal state, but no way am I leaving where I am. I love it here so much. I'll wait for the legal weed. Hey, that one stuff, there you go, right? You love your home. You love where you're from. And I say, hell yeah, go for it. And I mean, at the end of the day, I love the dedication to your home state, man. That's beautiful. Roman Reckless, you know what? I'm a big fan of the Galactic Citrus Shiva. I'm enjoying growing it. It's so fun to see the odd uniformity that I've gotten on an initial F1 cross of these silly things. And on an F1, the uniformity that I'm seeing on all of these things is astonishing, especially when we're taking like a very new strain and a very old strain and then mixing these two worlds, like a blast from the past with a new age conscious thing. And then all of a sudden they actually perfectly married into each other. And like, it was a nice mix. I was like, hey, well, isn't that interesting? Dr. Frankenseed, have I ever grown Freak Show? Yes, I have grown Freak Show to term. No, I've grown some baby plants of it. And then I had to kill things because I was selling my house. It was a long thing. I think that's what happened. Was that when I ran Freak Show? I'm pretty sure it's when I ran Freak Show. But anyway, I've grown it at least in terms of its initial realities. I've seen it grown out. I've sampled the weed titties of the finished plant. I think it's a wonderful genetic oddity. I think it's an interesting compounding of mutations. I have yet to see a finished Freak Show where I found the smoke really worth anything to me. I think it's more of a gimmick in terms of the oddity that it is. I do see that if you were able to cross it with something and actually get the flower to be vastly superior while then maintaining the weird mutation in terms of its foliar development, then that regarding it would make it a great guerrilla outdoor grow, because a lot of people aren't going to register it that aren't, growers intimately knowing the Freak Show realities. But yeah, so I played around with it a little bit. I've got a couple of crosses that were sent to me by someone at home. Who was it? Oh, come on, brain. Oh, I literally actually had I think it was maybe Buzzkill Willis. I think it was maybe Buzzkill Willis who sent it to us. There is a Freak Show cross in there that I'm excited to play with. And we will do that for show. We just got to wait a bit to get a few more tents set up. The real important thing for me is I got to get another little 2x2 tent set up going. That way we can at least keep pumping out some initial crosses or playing with things or doing some slow stabilizations. The apartment where I'm living, which I've always had, this is where we started the channel. This channel was started in this apartment. It was started in the closet in that bedroom. For me, I got limited space though, right? So first we're gonna get another tent going so we can actually keep cranking out some beans. Okay, for everybody. And you live in a city. I live in the largest city on the west coast of Canada. I live in the heart of it too. I live right beside the biggest hospital in this province and literally 3 blocks down from the city hall of my city. So yes, I do. Vic Victor says regular tap water. How do y'all? That was probably in response to something else. Normal, natural well water has sulfur in it, and plants love it at Vic Victor. I will say, Mudswat, some well water plants love. Some well water is far too hard, especially for little babies at the same time. So again, always do a parts per million test on your well water just to be safe. Because at the end of the day, if you're running into issues in terms of germination or earlier life cycle things that are a little bit fragile, because let's be fair, meadowwater, tough plant, very strong, especially good genetics. But okay, when they're young, yes, you got to baby them a bit. Not baby them in such a way where you're killing them and over-loving them, right? But at the same time, you can't be too, rough. It's like, for example, would you take a toddler and go, all right, put on these pads, go play football with adults? No, you're going to give it time. You're going to give it time. And then you're going to go make that cocksucker play football, maybe, right? So that's how you approach it. That's the best way to interpret our babies, okay? But remember that very hard water can be an issue, okay? So if you're using well water, okay, or a natural water source, double check your parts per million. So it's a good, safe bet, everybody. Saul Stanley, I mean, in terms of, at least in Canada, if you're talking about that, I mean, I know it's happened in the States too, but legalization, people say like, oh, it drove down the weed prices. Well, no, not government weed. Like if you look at legal weed in Canada, it's really expensive still, and it sucks. Really, the gray zone market, or the legacy market, as I prefer to call it, we did that to ourselves. We're the ones who fucked up our own industry. That wasn't legalization. We just started infighting with each other, desperate to make a sale, and we kept undercutting everybody. I'm glad that things in one sense are a little bit cheaper for the consumer in terms of the legacy market now, but it's gone too far as well. But we have no one to blame but ourselves for that one, okay? That wasn't legal weed's problem. It wasn't the government. It wasn't legal weed that did that to us. We did that to ourselves. It was called infighting in our industry and undercutting each other rather than working together to take out the corporate conglomerate government monster. But hey, hindsight's 2020, right? We'll move on and we'll still survive. Those of us who are still in the game. All right, let's keep reading here. Yes, Mudswat, I would totally leave it alone at that point as well. Make that plant work. That early experience of having it fight its way into existence is good for the plant's health. So yeah, I'd leave it alone still. Like if you've got it after like a week or like 8-9 days, yeah, maybe give it a little helping hand, because at that point the bicuspid should have grown more than enough where they've lifted off and they can't shuck the tips. So you're just removing it from the tips, actually. That's all you're really doing with that, is once they've grown out. And so you're going to have like kind of this whoop, and then you're going to have that little shell husk as a sort of a little hat. at that point, yeah, take it off. I mean, it's already done the work to kind of push it up from itself. The bicuspids have grown and pushed it up, right? So that's okay. And I would say rock and roll from there. That one stuff, I mean, that is a little much. Well, I mean, if you really like smoking your J's, I say, I guess you could. I mean, that's a lot of weed, though. Too much of a good thing is still a bad thing, everybody. So, still be conscientious in terms of your consumption. It's always good to be mindful of our consumption, everybody. Um, Sorry, everybody. Bear with me here. I'm just reading everyone's messages here. I'm just reading everyone's messages here. I think I've kind of fallen behind a bit. So bear with me, everybody. I'm just playing catch up. Nice one, Dr. Frankenseed. You're making some freak show beans. Fun fact, I've heard rumors through talking to another breeder that Freak Show wasn't actually Freak Show. It was actually created by another breeder. It's called a different name. So I kind of would like to get both those guys on separate shows, and then we will have a show where they all come together and they can debate who actually made it. That'd be kind of fun. Maybe it's just the shit disturber in me. I don't know. But Hippie Zombie says, what do you think of triploids that are coming out now? Pot Squatch. Well, triploid genetics have always existed. Triploid existence is the rarest, coolest one for me that I've never seen. I've seen a lot of my friends have triploid genetics. I've even sent people things from my collection, and then like I've grown so much of this genetic out. I never got a triploid, but then they get a triploid. I'm like, son of a bitch. I wish I could have kept that seed. I want to have a triploid. But overall, I love triploid based genetics. I mean, because there's no evidence that a triploid is doing anything different than its biploid or bicuspid initial variation. It's still producing the same amount of weed, if not more weed, because we've got literally 3 nodal sites being naturally made at each nodal segment rather than a 2. At the same time as well, I just find it intriguing as hell. Plus, there's no evidence showing that it makes the weed weaker. Polyploid, for example, which is basically where it's got an extra set of chromosomes within that genetic. Okay. And you see one of those buds, I mean, yeah, they're intriguing, but usually the smoke isn't great and it doesn't really stay intact, right? So that's a weird mutation, okay, that I find intriguing as hell. Never seen one of those in person either. But at the same time, it is not known for producing, super dank. It's just odd and weird, usually fairly airy, and an odd structure, but looks cool though. Oh, I feel you, Sean Infeld. I mean, so far, I'm really having fun with it. Do I have air current in those tents? I mean, if you're talking about my tent that I got going, of course, I've got dual air feed coming in on an air mover. I do not have an exhaust because, again, this is a tent. It's not like airtight. So running it at a positive pressure, I enjoy running things at a positive pressure, and it's getting enough leaking out. It's more important for me to be bringing air in rather than be worrying about pulling the air out. And it's helping me to maintain a very good relative humidity, and everything is going well. Roman Reckless says both parents of the GCS were fairly stable genetics, I assume. Yep. Goes to show the stability in the F1s. Oh, totally. 100%. Totally different realities. One super old, one super new, but both very stable and uniform in and of their own realities. And that's where it was really fun. I also noticed they had a like-minded branching nature. So where they were, to the untrained eye, very different looking things, which in many ways they were. There's also a lot of inherent similarities to them, which is, I thought, well, they could marry well and make something interesting. Miss K says her well water is about 300 plus ppm. At that level, you're approaching kind of like some hard water there for show. I mean, it's certainly not the hardest water I've ever seen, but that's definitely some hard water. I would say it makes sense that you filter, Miss K. That would probably be a good call. City water often contains bleach, and you should let that evaporate in an open bucket, 100%. Or chlorine is typically more often used in Canada. Bleach isn't something we approve for water treatment in Canada. We use chlorine. Or if we're not using chlorine, some places I believe are using chloramine. I think that's actually more common in the States, but that can evaporate out. It needs to be filtered out. You cannot evaporate that out. So if it's just standard chlorine, you're good. That'll evaporate out. Or if it's a bleach based product that your local municipality uses, that can be evaporated out. But chloramine cannot. Is it chloramine or chloramide? Whatever. It's one of those two names. But regardless, That shit cannot evaporate out. Um, hippie zombie, I would say to because I've smoked a lot of triploid finished product, and I've smoked the non-triploid version of the same strain. Would I say that I noticed an inherent difference in terms of overall resin production? No, nothing that I've ever seen. Would I say that it smells more, has a greater amount of flavonoids or terpenes? No, I wouldn't say that, because the fact of the matter is, having a triploid based or a 3-point nodal segment, that's not gonna increase, in my personal opinion, your resin production really at all. I think that could be something that's psychosomatic, and they're just observing, or they think they're observing. I mean, is it possible? Totally possible. Do I think it is? No, I don't think it is. And then that's just my educated guess on that. Like, I mean, I have smoked finished triploids. I've never been lucky enough to have one pop out, to be honest. But I would say, Humboldt, it's a bit of a stretch there. I mean, you can say that maybe you think you've experienced that at times. Am I sold on the concept? No, I'm not. And will I say that triploids have been known to be somewhat sterile at times? Yeah, they can be. But I've also seen triploids be completely breedable and have no issues in terms of producing the next generation at the same time, from friends of mine who have played with them and bred with them. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely an interesting premise, right? Like, and I'd love to have a bunch of different types of triploid genetics from both old and new, because triploid's not a new thing. That's been around forever. It's like a 4-leaf clover. It happens sometimes. It's just very rare. Is it more common now? Yeah. Well, a lot of weird things are common now, like foxtailing and other weird shit happening because of the way we've compounded and broken genetics with improper actual breeding practices over time. Had a tangent on this on probably like 50 or 60 shows over the years. But so am I shocked to see a rise in certain genetic attributes, some of which are good, some of which are bad, and some of them just interesting, but not necessarily good or bad, just interesting? No, that is definitely something that is on the rise in generalities. And also, thank you for the sub there, Dr. Frankenseed. I appreciate that very much, my friend. But so I'm not shocked to it, but that's where, like, I'm kind of having fun playing around recently with taking some of these older school things, some of these newer school things, and then making them, plant sexing. Let's have fun, baby. Put on some sexy music for them and let them do it. But going forward on the next couple of things, we're probably going to pop out for you. I basically, I know Miss K could be like, skunk, you keep bringing up, release a skunk variation for me. So we'll probably, there's a good chance we're going to do something like that next. I mean, I'd love to get, I wish I had room to have a bunch of tents so I could do a bunch of different things at once. But for fun and for the true love of the old school skunk and old school skunk variations, I think we'll pop a few different things of my collection of skunk based things. I've got a few different things that are all very old and all are supposedly the original skunk, and they go back in time. Like, they're old enough that they totally could be. I've also got other old school skunk variations like Vancouver Island Sweet Skunk, and a bunch of other shit like that. So I mean, we'll see what we end up fucking, getting out there for all y'all, but it'll be fun though. Sean Infield. So what's your rent overhead? ? Are you asking what I pay for rent in Vancouver? And if you are, I actually don't mind answering that. Brian Nobriga says, prepping for a Girl Scout Cookies Extreme run. Hell yeah. This year, I'm very excited. Last season was great. Best taste yet. Hell yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of GSC. I keep wanting to say GCS because that's Galactic Citrus Shiva, not GSC, which is Galactic Girl Scout Cookies. But I've never heard of the extreme version. But I mean, that sounds still fun though. And hell yeah. That is very true. That one stuff. Not too much, but a little bit. It'll never hurt anybody. Hippie Zombie says, was Freak Show ABC? Do you mean bred by ABC? Brian Obriga says, I'd watch that debate. Freak Show, I believe, if I'm remembering, I believe it came out of Humboldt by, what was his name? I want to say like Reaper or something like that. I can't remember the name properly off the top of my head, but there's another guy called Todd the Botanist. and he comes from like a 4, 5, 6, 7 generation cannabis cultivation family. He's a professional botanist, and he was working on what did he call it though? Mutant fern, I believe, is what he called his. And to be fair, he's got records and proof of this going back years as well. So is it possible that two dudes made the same work on their own? Totally. Or at least things that seem close enough that everyone's going to get heated about it? Totally. Is it possible? Yes. Is it statistically probable? No. But is it possible? Yes. But hey, I keep an open mind, everybody, right? Like, I mean, the problem with a lot of our histories is they're so oral, right? So everyone has a slightly different version of history or a slightly different thing. And then there's a lot of people that make up a lot of crap and bullshit in the cannabis industry and make a lot of false claims. That is also a thing. So it's hard sometimes for us to track true histories and origin stories on things. But it is what it is. Eugene Dolan says, I gave mine a little misting from a spray water bottle. It's doing better now, but behind the others. That's okay. Just keep on loving her, Eugene, and she'll get going for you. I have faith. Mudswat says, cannabis is much cheaper than it used to be since legalization in my state. I'm pretty sure it's the same at all states when it comes to non-federal level legalization, but a state level. Not that it's a good thing. Growers are robbed from taxes. Public is robbed from taxes. The moneymakers are big companies. Well, typically, yeah. But I mean, guys, like girls' season days. I mean, when has that ever been? That's not a new concept. We're always getting fucked by big companies and the government. That's not a new thing, and albeit, yes, it's frustrating. We can get mad about it, but it's not like they're just doing this to this industry. They've literally done it to everything under the sun. That's why we got legalization in any way. That's how we got these bureaucratic conservative assholes on board with allowing us, in theory, to engage in something we've been wanting for decades and decades and decades, because they saw a cash cow. They saw an opportunity to make money. But what are you going to do? 1 second. I'm going to throw the dog toy for the dogs, so maybe they'll leave me alone. Go get your toy, Betty. Want to come play? There we go. All right. Let's continue reading. Saul Stanley says, when do you prefer to pull weed? In what regards are you referencing pull? Like, do you mean harvest? Depends on the strain, depends on the breakdown. It depends on my mood and experimentation on that run. Typically, if I'm growing an indica or an indica dominant thing, I'm typically going to be going for anywhere from 10 to usually a 25 to 30% ambering on my trikes. But another thing I like to watch the maturation and maturity of my secondary indicators, which is watching my pistils pull in, watching the colors change as well as the smells change on my flowers, as it were, as they are maturing and ripening, shall we say. Are these our primary indicators? No, the best thing is always check our trikes. That's what we got to do. But I changed it up, but typically I'm usually on the later side of a harvest than the lighter side. I mean, it doesn't mean I haven't done earlier harvests at times, but I'm never really that into it when I do an earlier harvest. I do something very similar, Brian Nobriga. I just use my air stones and a air pump as well. What's up, DOA? Good to see you, buddy. Flavonoids. That one stuff. I actually don't know if flavonoid is actually a real term at all, but it serves me well. Roman Reckless says, anything more than 2 are polyploids, although an odd number ploid is sterile, no match for the DNA, etc. Well, no, you can breed with something that's got 3 bicuspid or tricuspid leaves. They breed. I've watched them breed. I've watched people breed with them. It is trickier, but it's not impossible. But if you've got something that's a full out polyploid, though, as in terms of where it's growing the weird caterpillar buds and weird stuff like that, I mean, again, I've never had the chance to play around with it. I know that many people have tried to stabilize it. I know many people have tried to make it breed, and it does occasionally make seeds, but they're not great. But I've never seen an issue with triploid or something that has a tricuspid sort of start to it really running into much issues with its ability to get down and freaky. What's happening, William Pritchard? Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, no, I hear, especially on the East Coast, there's a lot of snow going around in Canada. Not here. It's sunny and almost warm. WB Grower says, I had a bag seed that was a triploid, but it grew out of it after like the 6th or 7th node. Interesting. All right. It settled out as it got to get to know itself. I totally agree with you, Mudswat. 100%. 1 second here, everybody. I'm just reading and playing catch up. Or you're saying two triploids can't fuck? Eh, and again, I've never tried to make them fuck. I would be curious to see what would happen, though. I understand, Roman. I still want to try to make them fuck, to be fair. Dr. Frankenseed, you will get something that is a majority of autoflowering if you're using two well-sourced autoflowering strains. If you're working with a true root or Allison, of course, there'll be 100% autoflowering. That is just the inherent nature of the third species. But if it's an intermixed autoflower that's based out of usually origin stories finding its way back to the joint doctor's lowrider number 2 or something along those lines, and then it's been mixed with other phenos, you'll get a majority of autoflowering seeds, but it is not unheard of for some of those beans to come out photo as well. Bear with me here, everybody. There we go. Thank you, Dr. Frankenstein. I'm just reading here. I'm reading here. Bear with me, everybody. Hey, what's up, 618 Grow? Good to see you, my friend. It's been a long time as well. Good to see you. I'm just reading. Bear with me. Super frosty, and it tasted amazing, but it had a lackluster high. I've seen that with certain genetics too. They look great, they smell great, they taste great, but then they do basically nothing. I'm just reading. Bear with me, everybody. And if I'm missing your comments, it's not because I'm trying to be rude. I'm just trying to play catch up, so I'm sort of staying on top of the show's comments. Bear with me here. Oh, Australian Bastard Cannabis. Gotcha. Gotcha. Thank you, Hippie Zombie. Hell yeah, Jansen. Is that the Gazzers Madness you're doing there, bud? That's warm down in Cambridge. Yeah. My buddy, Big A, he's been on the show a couple times. He's down at PEI, and they got a huge dump of snow where he is. I think he got about like 60 or 70 centimeters. And then Cape Breton got like 150 in a few days, 150 centimeters of snow. It was like right crazy. I mean, I wouldn't put it that way, WB Growers. But good joke, though. I enjoyed that. That one stuff. I just went through a bag that had everything but the buzz. Right. And it happens sometimes, that one stuff. We come across these weeds, they look amazing, they taste amazing, they don't do anything. My buddy Sean of now they might be changing the name of their company, but I can't even remember it now. What the name was his genetics line. It's like a fellow Sasquatch themed genetic, or not genetic line, but a cannabis line. Oh, bloody heck. I can't even remember the name of his company. And this is actually a dear friend of mine. It'll come to me later. Doesn't matter. He's thinking about changing it to Grips Trip anyway. But so we had this weed. It smelled great. Almost had like a cheesiness base to it. So I feel like somewhere down the line there was some cheese introduced into this genetic. It looked good. It was well cured, nice and moist, wasn't dry. Nice light looking, decent density, fluffed out nicely at the same time. Tasted decent. I mean, to be fair, I think it's still a little fresh. I think it could have cured a little bit longer, but I smoked a doob of it with them and I felt nothing. It was weird. Like I felt absolutely nothing from this genetic. So, it's funny that we're all speaking about that. I actually just saw some weed titties today that, was like that for at least me personally. Yes. So Saul Stanley, then, yeah, basically that's kind of what happens when a lot of people are doing sort of intermixing with sort of the ruderalis based genetic of the, requiring a non-photo change, but then we're mixing in with other things to kind of increase their size, increase their potency, increase this. And I will say, again, I'm not an auto guy, not a fan of autos, but they've come a really long way. They've come a really long way from the infancy days of autoflowering genetics. But so, if you have one that's just showing hairs and it's not doing what the other ones do, that definitely sounds like, well, simply put, something that's going to be on the photo side of the genetic spectrum of its lineage. Because, I mean, there's still photoperiod genetics in that, genome, right? So, flavonoid. That one stuff says, I've smoked myself sober before. I had a friend say he did it once too. Just us? No, I've done that before. Especially back in the day when we were kids. Like, we smoked a crap ton of cannabis. And we would smoke so much weed. We smoked way too much weed back then, to be fair. We smoked way too much weed growing up. Like, I will admit it. We used to like be so proud of how much dope we smoked. And we were like, oh man, like, we smoked so much weed. Like, we were like legitimately very, very, very okay. Flavonoid is a thing. Good. That's what I thought. Roman Reckless. I was pretty sure. But to be fair, none of my scientifically minded fellow growers ever speak the word flavonoid, and it's something that in my mind there was always terpenes and flavonoids, but again I couldn't confirm that, so I'm glad that I have been using the proper term. And Miss K's Garden says CBD leaning. It might have been, but it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be this far, this or that, and it smelled great, it looked good, but it just didn't do anything. I think at the end of the day, those damn flavonoids. Oh, I love it, Roman. But I've even found with some CBD type smoke, like, I mean, I may not feel like a direct high, but I definitely enjoy them though. I don't know. Hard to say. Oh, Roman. Thumbs up back to you, brother. Much love, Sean. But it is what it is, right? And that's kind of what makes the cannabis industry fun. All different types of stuff. Here, I'm going to quickly send myself the link to the show. I'll give everybody a little sneak peek of sort of so it definitely was Minneapolis Mike. Yes, and it is gone out. So hopefully, Mike, I'll send him an email after the show. I'm glad he's reaching out, though. If you ever order something from the store and you're confused as to what's happening, just message Uncle Pot Squatch and he will help you out. Bear with me here, everybody. I'm just sending this link to myself so I can bring my cell phone on the show, and we'll call it like a crop cam there. Bear with me here. Bear with me, everybody. I'm just bringing the cell phone in, and we will give you all a sneak peek of the tent there. All right. So, entering the studio. There we go. If you're talking to me, Blues Man, it's growing amazing at the moment. There we go. Bear with me, everybody. All right. Do this. All right. Now we're going to go solo layout. There we go. All right. How's this going right now? Can you all hear me right now? Andre 4000, I'm just bringing in the crop cam at the moment to show everybody a sneak peek of the planties. Dr. Frankenseed, what am I growing in? If you mean in terms of medium, I am using ProMix HP. I'm a big fan of ProMix HP. I love you too, Shine. And all right, good, perfect, awesome. Okay, let me have a sip of beer and we'll show you some of these weed titties. All right, all right, all right. Da-da-da. All right, let's get in there and show you some of the wheat titties. It's funny. Someone sent me a text just now. They're like, your live stream isn't working correctly. And I'm like, yo, man, I got like at least 40 to 50 people off and on over the next hour that have not complained about one thing. So it must be an issue at someone else's end in your internet, maybe. But anyway, my friends, here we go. So as you can see here, yes, we have some. This one, like, no fake, no cannibalization happening on it. Yeah, I've been hitting her a little hard on this one. She got a little bit of crispy tips, and that's okay. I'm not really worried about crispy tips. I like to ride them hard in terms of their feed. We do have a bit of cannibalization happening on some of these lower families, but again, this is not unheard of. It is naturally cannibalizing itself out and sending it to the tops. If we look at our tops, nice and healthy, all that. She's just a hungry lady. She's had a larger stretch as well than this one. Again, this is not unheard of to see, but I'm loving the development in here. I'm loving how much they are already coming together. We're at a day before 3.5 weeks, and it's just, those trikes are really starting to develop and pop in. I'm really excited to see where these are at about week 5. Week 5, I think, is going to be a really interesting one. 4 weeks will be cool. It'll probably be fairly similar to this. Because right now, what we're having a lot of happening is sort of filling things in and densifying happening. And once we get past that stage, which will really kind of be after we pass week 4, I'm really thinking we're going to see some crazy, crazy shit happening by our week 5 update. But even this little side branch, like, look at this little side branch. She's even doing that. Look at that. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. Look at that. All right. Whew, that's enough bending over for me. My goodness gracious. Whew. All right. Man, bending. There we go. Oh, thank you very much for 20 Hemtress. Mud Swat, the original one we used did not have the dimmable driver, but the new ones do have dimmable ones for me and well. I'm going to just switch this back over for a second here to the main screen here. I'm going to go dual setting here. And to be fair, so if I go mute this, unmute this mic. Oh, and then that's going to get us feedback because the cell phone's playing its thing. And there we go. I'm going to then remove from stage. There we go. And everything should be good now. I'll move that phone back there so it doesn't cause any issues with the, because it's like quietly, like even when I reduce the volume on it fully, it still plays a bit, which is annoying, but what are you going to do? All right. Andre 4000. You know what? I'm just gonna remove this from the show. And there we go, because it's just going to annoy me now. This is one of our strains that we've developed, Andre 4000. Its name is Galactic Citrus Shiva. It's an interesting blend of old school and new school. It is an old school orange Hindu Kush that would have come out of India roughly 30 years ago, was exclusively grown in New Zealand by an old hippie out in the weird Shire areas of New Zealand. And then it came into my possession, and then I crossed that by Alien Rift from Vader and began playing with the old meets new. Greg Page, I know. I think that's the number one vote that everyone really keeps saying is they really want me to do something. Hey, no. Stop it. We're doing a show. They want me to do some skunky things. And I got the things where we could do some skunky things. So we're going to get those out and rock and rolling for everybody. Hey, thank you very much. Trichromes, rock your socks. Mudswat, do you have Galactic Citrus Shiva in autos? No, I do not breed autos. I'm not an auto guy. I'm not into autos. Would I ever make an auto variation of something for my line? Maybe one day. But I'm not an auto guy personally. So no, I'm only breeding regular seeds right now. OG Lieutenant Blazer 556, ask away, buddy. No worries. Welcome back, by the way. Doesn't matter. Life happens. It's good to see you, buddy. Welcome back. It's good to see some of our old pot squatches returning to our community and hanging out with all of us. Jose Canal says, I have a question about my Squatch rack. The wires that you have to twist together, they're kind of looking a little melted. Yeah, so basically, again, Jose Canal, I'm not sure when yours would have been first made. The initial Squatch racks wiring, the wires worked. We did upgrade them to a slightly higher gauged wire after the first few racks that we did. And it's very simple to fix. Like, again, everything we build is very simple to fix. So all you got to do is literally get yourself some higher gauge wire, solid core, solid state wire. And then you can literally go through. So just match literally where each wire is going. Okay. You gently push, remove it, put the new wire in, boop, done. You can actually rewire that thing, arguably, even for the first time doing it, in probably a few minutes. It's not hard. We try to keep it simple. They're built like hot rods. They're not overly thought out. They're just there to crank and also easily fixed, easily upgradable. But yes, that will happen at times. Sometimes, even if they don't look that way, sometimes wires can short out. These things happen over time. What's happening, Felicia Casper, Skippy Limpy? Good to see you, my friend. And yes, that was at Jose Canella in terms of the Squatch rack question. Andre 4000, what do you know about the flavor profiles? The flavor profiles of which? Of the parents of the Galactic Citrus Shiva? I know them both intimately. That's why I bred with them. And if you're asking about them, feel free to ask. Okay, so OG Lieutenant Blazer 556 says, first, let me say that the Orange Warrior Widow is fantastic, both in flavor and growth. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it, my friend. That is also, for those of you who are newer here, one of the genetics we've released on our store that we made. It is, in a weird way, like I could call it like a cousin, maybe, or like a half sister of the Galactic Citrus Shiva, in that they both utilized the orange Hindu. I'd say they're more like cousins because I actually used two separate females. Okay. Because on the Galactic Citrus Shiva crossing, the parent or the male or the father was actually the Alien Rift. Okay. So the Alien Rift knocked up an orange Hindu Kush. And then for the Orange Warrior Widow, that was a Kaitangata by Canadian White Russian male knocking up also an orange Hindu Kush. Brian Nobriga, we've been asked that a lot over the years. I think, there'll be times where I'll do a limited run. I'm not going to compound feminization. So I think one day I'll do like a small batch limited edition of these. And so once they're gone, they're gone. Yeah, maybe down the road. I don't really have the room to mess around with something that's not really my jam. But eventually one day for sure. And I get the time part, Brian. I totally get that. But what I would just say is just start 10 of them, right? Like, we've made our beans really affordable, so you can totally have half of them go male, and it's not a big deal, right? If you want 5, start 10, right? And then typically, like the Galactic Citrus Shiva, for example, is throwing about 50-50 in terms of my experience and everyone else who's been growing it out. So goes 50-50. If you get more females than that, then just pick your favorites and then euthanize the other ones or give them to a friend. Sharing is caring, right? No. OG Lieutenant Blazer, both the Orange Warrior Widow and the Galactic Citrus Shiva, even though they seem very stable and not an F1, they are most certainly F1s. They are two crosses. Both are crosses of extremely stable realities. So that is literally an F1, even though, like, for example, the Galactic Citrus Shiva especially is throwing like an F3, F4, F5 in terms of its uniformity and similarity between its different phenos. It is still most certainly an F1. It just got lucky with that plant fucking. And the Orange Warrior Widow, I would say she's thrown like an F3 or an F4 almost even too. She's quite uniform often as well. But no, those are both F1s. They don't seem like F1s, but yes, they're F1s. Jose Canella, I mean, it's just a higher gauged wire, right? If you want to shoot me an email and I can like send you an example of something, right? Of what to get, and it'll make it easier. And then I can send you I mean, if you even in your email tell me where you live, I'll just look up like a local hardware store and I'll just be like, go get some of this. Tony Clifton says, my PM problems are gone. Congratulations. Now my Super Lemon Haze clones are not rooting. Fuck. Time to break out my Lemon Haze Blueberry F1 seeds. Hey, man, Tony Clifton, that sounds sexy. Blueberry lemon, that would work, man. It's like a blueberry scone with some lemon in there. I'd be into that, my friend. I would be into that. Well, there we go. And it's not so much, I mean, one, we could do that for our friend Brian to try. I mean, part of it is though too, like I'm just so against feminization in general. It is a sacrilegious practice that should have never been utilized by breeders anywhere. We destroyed cannabis with it. And that's part of my resistance to that. And also I don't have any room right now. But I mean, Miss K's garden, shoot me an email or something like that. We'll chat further. I'd be open to that. At least for our some of our friends who want to try it. My problem is with it too is like if I do it personally, then it came from me, and I only do it once in a blue moon. It's a limited edition because I don't want people to start demanding that all the time because that's not what I want to do, right? I don't want to contribute to the compounding genetic issues of feminized genetics in the genetic population of the world. Yo, it's funny, Jansen, too. Jansen's wife like reached out to me and she's like, hey, like, I wanna get like Jansen a special present. I believe I threw a thing or two in there too, potentially that isn't on the store. But I remember his wife was so excited. She was super stoked to get him these genetics, and I was like, all right, we'll put it together for him. Oh, it's the media cost here in Hawaii, limited super soil. I will say, Brian Nobriga, like if you go back and if you watch the low stress training bondage in action video that we released 3.5-ish weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago, something like that. You'll see how big I managed to get these galactic citrusivas to go in a solo cup. Okay. So it would cut down on your media. And the fact of the matter is, just run a lower level of photo on. I mean, they grow pretty aggressively and branch pretty crazy, even in a solo cup. So it reduced medium costs. And then you'd be more likely to have sex show on the earlier side. And I mean, again, even though it's not my style, flip to 12-12 for a while and then get those glands to develop, and that'll make it happen for you. That would be my suggestion in terms of addressing the costs of medium. What's up, Sean Parker? Good to see you, buddy. What's up, DBN? Mr. Talk to Me Nice. Good to see you. What's up, Grown Up Grows? Anyone I've missed, if I haven't said to them, by the way, good to see all of you. Oh, dude, Roman Reckless, they are neither their parents. They're neither the mom or the dad. They're a perfect marrying of the two. It's actually extremely interesting. Bye, Miss K's Garden. We'll talk soon. Yeah, no, that's why, like, I don't do huge dabs, Mudswat. It's just asking for me to have a panic attack. Yeah, I will say OG Lieutenant Blazer 556. The one thing I've noticed on the Orange Warrior Widow is she's definitely a little more sensitive for sure. These are both two outdoor genetics that I've then created and worked on creating a initial crossing for more of an indoor reality. So when it comes to light intensity and indoor growth, I'm assuming we're growing them indoors at your place. They have been known to be a little bit finicky at times. So I'm not shocked to hear that. That will be something I can address in that one. The Galactic Citrushiva is perfect for indoors. Half of her lineage literally needs to not only be indoors, but like babied. So she came out nice and hearty and safe in that regard. Let me read. Hell yeah, Dalesky OG. Tony Clifton, in terms of plant sexing, that's gonna fluctuate. Okay. Some genetics will sex very early. You will see pre-gland development in such a way that you can almost 80-85% of the time really know what it's going to be. Some genetics will take a very long time to sex. Most genetics will eventually sex and veg, at least to a point where you can tell what they are. Some genetics are going to be finicky and they're going to be tricky and they're going to take their sweet ass time to show you what they're going to be. But that is rarer than not. Last one had a fan fall on it. Your fault. Yeah. OG Lieutenant Blazer 556. That's funny. Yeah, that's definitely. It's like, that might have been a stressor for sure. But to be fair, that's kind of funny though too. Hey man, I've knocked fans and other equipment on my plants too, or I've had like I've done stupid things where I was like, oh crap, I kind of thought about that, then I didn't really do anything about it, and then that happened with the equipment, like oopsie poopsie. These things happen. What's up, Ron Day? Good to see you, buddy. What's up, Aaron? Good to see you, my friend. No, I'm good, Aaron. I'm good, buddy. But thanks for tuning in, buddy. What's happening That Guy channel too? Good to see you, buddy. Uh Jason Scholl, dabs are wild. I prefer flour any day. Yeah, I'm more of a flour or hash guy myself, but people who are dabbers are a different breed. Uh Sean Imfeld, I don't understand your question. Bear with me, everybody. I'm just trying to like absorb everybody's messages and all this. No, I, you know, I'm becoming an old school kind of guy myself. I've been doing this for quite a long time, and I was the guy for many years that the old school guys, when they didn't know what to do, brought me in. I was their problem solver. So if it hasn't sexed by week 5 and saying, "Oh, it's definitely male," bullshit. I don't believe in that at all. There's some sat genetics that literally take 2 or 3 weeks into their flowering window to really truly sex out. I've seen. Now and again, that's rare, especially in this day and age of like, compounded new age genetics, but it's not unheard of. So I would disagree with them respectfully. I would say, and if anything, that's actually kind of contradictory to how sexing works. Males typically are going to exhibit faster than females, which is kind of funny because if you think about humans, right? Biologically, our gender, when we're born, women develop so much faster than we do typically. And then all of a sudden we blow up. But in cannabis, it's different. Typically, more often than not, you're going to see the males, in terms of their sexual glands, develop faster typically than their female counterparts. Again, is it unheard of that you might run into a few batch of genetics that you pop not doing that? No, totally. That's why we, make educated, stupid decisions. We observe and we watch in daily gardening. But no, right? That's exactly the thing, in my humble 2 cents. And again, so Brian, were you growing those outdoors though, bro? Blues Man, for you, I was supposed to be leaving in March. We're no longer shooting in March. I will be going down there October or November now. They needed more pre-production time for the movie, so we will be shooting. I'll be shooting that movie now. So sadly, you won't be able to see it in theaters now until about 2026. I'm going to guess you'll probably get to watch it right at the beginning of 2026 in theaters, maybe a little bit before, maybe the end of 2025. It's hard to say. Hard to say. That's not really my department on the film, but I am friends with the people who are in control of sales. So. But yeah, just given the timelines that we're shooting like in October, November now, it'll either be like the end of 2025, early 2026 that everybody can go check that out. But I will be shooting that in October or November. Yeah, dude, OG Lieutenant Blazer 556, bro. I've been there, yo. I've done that a bunch of times. Bear with me, everybody. That guy channel 2 says, I can't wait to have some of my weed. Everything's putting me to sleep like CBD. Oh shit. Yeah, I feel you, brother. Mudswat says, I've been doing this since 1984. Just kidding. Jason Scholl says, I've had nothing but great luck with random bag seed. I would always keep seeds since 2005. In the last 4 years, I've popped at least 6 of them, all to success and high quality. Right? And a lot of people, Jason Scholl, have always bitched about bag seed. When I was a younger grower, sometimes it's all you had access to. And I've grown some amazing things from bag seed myself. So, people harping on bag seed or even like bag seed that's not fully mature. Don't just because it's not fully mature, just because it's a bag seed doesn't mean you might not grow far out of it. Also, may be a hermaphroditic shitty pheno too, but you never know. Just because something's that doesn't mean if everything that was hermaphroditic that happened, it would suck. GG4 wouldn't exist, right? Also, too, right? Sometimes you get those gift seeds. There are no nanners, there is no pollen. And if there was a nanner or pollen, there'd be a lot more than 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 random seeds in one area, right? We call those the gift seed. Once in a blue moon, it happens. No, I feel you, Tony Clifton. So just do, you know what? When in doubt, just flip to 12-12 and wait. Yeah, right, Roman. I had something similar happen with that. I've even had like with one of the Squatch lights, and it fell down, and I came home, and it was like holding it up, and it only had scorch on the top part of the bud. So I was just like, well, we're gonna do a little amputation and leave it alone. But you know, I've had mistakes happen too. Remember, everybody, we learn from our mistakes more than we do from our successes. Mistakes happen, shit fucks up. Don't beat yourself up. It's part of being a grower. It's part of the fun. Okay, it's part of being a wee titty farmer. So never beat yourself up too much. So yeah, Brian, you know, and that could be a stress related thing too. It could be light intensity, it could be drought, it could be this, it could be that. I mean, some genetics also too will be more prone to go male in the end when it comes to due to stressors. You know, it's really hit or miss when it comes to different genetics as well, Brian, right? So that's a big part of it too. So that's okay, OG Lieutenant Blazer. Why do you think I skidded over? Um, no, did I miss something from Sean? Sean, if I missed something, are which are you asking about the Galactic Citrus Shiva? Uh, if you're asking what the THC content of our strains are, I don't test that because that is the stupidest. And that's not me calling you stupid. This is my personal preference on cannabis. This obsession with tetrahydrocannabinol activated content or saturation content. I was obsessed with it too when I was younger. It's pointless. I've got strains that I've developed over the years where it only goes to like 18% THC and it's like 22% CBD at the same time. And it'll fuck you up more than any 30 plus percent strain. So you got to remember there's over 468 psychoactive chemicals and cannabinoids within cannabis. Okay. Um, terpenes, flavonoids, other secondary cannabinoids all have an effect. It all works in a different way together. Like it's a super duper complex cocktail, right? Where THC, albeit yes, the primary active ingredient typically, isn't necessarily okay. What's going to make or break the intensity or beauty? So I don't typically test them. It's I'm not against it. It's just I don't want to put that numeric to my genetics because again, it's the wrong way of thinking about something. I'll put it to you this way. It'll get you high. It tastes good. It fuck you up. I mean, that's the most important thing, right? For me, when I test a cannabis, I don't care what the number is. Okay. First, I'm going to take a look at it. I'm going to see how is it grown. I'm going to see how is it finished. How is the cure on it, right? Then I'm going to look at its structure. I'm going to look at the size of the buds. I'm going to look at the density of the buds. I'm going to look at how branchy they are. I'm going to break it up. I'm going to break it open. Okay. I'm going to see how it fluffs out. I'm going to see how it comes to a breakdown, right? Then I'm going to twist it up and we'll smoke it. And we'll see how it tastes. I'm going to see how it tastes at the beginning, middle, and end. I'm going to see then for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to see how I feel, right? What's going on in terms of my sensations and what I'm experiencing. And that for me is sort of the more important way of addressing cannabis because, like, you know, going by these numbers, well, first of all, a lot of people have fake numbers associated with their products, especially in this weird legal world now. You know, it's not hard to get fake numbers associated with your product. You know, slip the guy a few extra bills and then boom, done. You got a lab report that seems legal, seems legit, but it's not. So I don't personally look at it that way, Sean. Simply put, you know, if you know what I'm saying. So I couldn't tell you. I mean, sure, like when this one's done, do you want me to go? I'll go take it, get it tested. I got a friend who's got a testing lab. I'll get it tested for everybody. Okay, shoot, I'm behind again. Bear with me, everybody. My problem is I keep scrolling up and down to see other things. So bear with me here. I'm just playing catch up again now. Dude, that's the thing, Jason Scholl. Some of these old brick genetics, like if they're grown with our modern techniques and the way we do it, they're actually really, really good. I hope I answered your question, Sean Infield. One, couldn't tell you. Two, don't care. I don't look at weed like that. No, he's not. Sean's been around for a long time, Jose. Bear with me, everybody. I'm just reading. Facebook user saying that you don't get to see my lives anymore, that you're always at work when I do them. Going forward, once I find a new job, because I left my old job, I won the legal battle, but I left. And I'm going to, once I have the new job and know what my new world schedule is going to be like, I will try to at least occasionally work in a show that's not at like this 3 p.m. time on a Sunday here in the west coast of Canada. So it'll be more accessible to other people. For a while, we were doing that show, what I call like the show for the UK, which is at a better time for those people. Facebook user says, my question would be, what would cause a seed to grow little white worms? So Facebook user at 4:09 p.m. sending that message. If you're talking about you're germinating a seed and you find little white worms, that means your seed is contaminated. Seeds can actually have bugs in them. They can be contaminated with bugs, and that is what, if you're talking about actual like little micro worms that are coming out of your seeds, that means a contaminated seed that was contaminated with some form of pest. I feel you, Sean Infeld. I'll put it to you this way, buddy. None of my shit that I release will not get you high. Okay. I typically develop weed that gets you high. Yo, Bobby Koza, it has been a hot minute, yo. And it's funny when some of you like pop into the show that I haven't seen in a while, because it's like, I remember your name. It like, oh yeah, I remember you. And no, it's been a hot minute. No, I haven't had a big beard and fuck over a year and a half now. I'm just reading here, everybody. I love you too, Sean. Tim O'Rourke. O'Rourke. Everybody, this is a very, very dear friend of mine. This is my friend Tim. Me and Tim go way back, many moons ago now. We used to work together as actors at an escape room. And me and Tim would get high all the time after work, go get drunk. And we both love films. We both love shit like that. One of these days, Tim, we got to get the TV show. You know the one I'm referencing. I'll just say the word William. You'll know what I'm talking about. And we got to make that one. I might be biased of my wanting to make this show because I get to star in it. I'm just saying. I'm special princess. I like being the center of attention when it comes to a TV show, I guess. But I think it'll be a really good show. But everybody, Tim's a good guy. Tim loves the weed titties, and very, very intelligent man. Welcome to the show, Tim. This may be one of the first time Tim has ever actually joined us here at the Pot Squatch Growers community in a show. So welcome, Tim. Big shout out to you. He is a good man, my friends. OG Lieutenant Blazer 556 says the high THC question is just like asking how much potassium is is in your banana versus the other banana from a different bunch. No, totally. And the part of what you really said there, OG Lieutenant Blazer 556, in terms of the different reactionary realities of cannabinoid endocrine systems, human to human, is very, very true. If you go back a few live streams ago to the live stream with Dr. Ife Abiola, arguably one of the most educational singular live streams we've ever released in the history of this channel. We actually spent a big time talking about that. And Dr. Frankenseed says, how can I fix woody stems? Now, when you say a woody stem, do you mean more so of like a straw stem, something that's hollow on the inside? Is that what you're concerned about, Dr. Frankenseed? Oh yeah, and I love how like it's my channel, but like I'm not like and subscribe. because I always forget about it. I always feel weird doing that. I always feel like a dick. I'm like, you know what? I mean, if people want to like it, they're gonna or subscribe to it, they will. But you know, I guess that's what you're supposed to do when trying to grow your brand, right? So thank you, Mudswat, for always having my back in that regard. And yes, if you enjoy our show and you are new here, please like, subscribe, tell your friends, share our videos everywhere. Hell, if you've got a favorite YouTuber that's not me, that's completely allowed. If you want me on their show, message them. If they want me on their show, I'm happy to do collaboration shows and pieces as well. I'm looking to build the community and try to stop all the infighting and bicking. Bigotry kept wanting to come say out, but bigotry is not really usually part of it. I mean, it is occasionally, but it's more so people just being bullies and picking on each other and shitting on each other, which I'm not into. Facebook user says, "Are you live on YouTube right now?" I am live on YouTube. I'm live on Facebook, both our company page on our group as well. Normally I go live on Instagram, but I was just like, I don't know. I don't see like a benefit of having it on Instagram. And by this point, the show would have ended on Instagram anyway, because they keep kicking us off after an hour because of how Instagram works. So we are live on both YouTube and 2 places on Facebook currently right now. Sean Infield says, "Well, wait a minute, buddy. I get all that, but I have to buy it illegally, so I don't know what I'm getting." Feel my question mark. I do, but again, I will say, Sean, like when it comes to sort of like actual realities on things, like I mean, I guess it's just sort of taking my word for it in terms of if you're talking about acquiring beans from us. And if it comes from buying in an illegal market, if we're talking about flour that you're picking up locally, well, it's the illegal market. They're never going to tell you the truth anyway. So I say just take a smell, take a woof, take a look, and make your best guess. That's what I always did kind of growing up when I was acquiring things if I wasn't growing it. But yes, Facebook user, we are on YouTube right now. You have to be signed into your YouTube account because we're not for children. So you got to be signed into an account to be able to access this show. And Dr. Frankenweed says, yeah. Okay, so Frankenseed, one, a big part of the hollow stem or the woody stem. Okay, there's going to be 2 main contributing factors. 1, genetic/phenotype. Number 2, lights. If you are experiencing consistent hollow stems, no matter what genetic you're growing, you lack light. It is arguably the main real thing that, other than a genetic variation, okay, or a phenotype variation that I've sort of run into, is the lack of light. It's the lights you're using. You need more light intensity with a better spectrum that is going to feed and encourage. Then obviously after that, another important thing is making sure you're properly feeding your cannabis and having a diversified diet to then help counteract hollow stems. But those would be my main real things. Yes, Jose Canella saying it could be waterlogging as well. For sure. I mean, if you've got waterlogging, you're keeping your medium way too wet, way too often. You're not going to allow your roots to properly propagate. Okay. That's going to stunt your plant. A stunted plant or a plant lacking certain variables in terms of what it needs to be happy and healthy and super good to go is going to then be more prone to having hollow stems as well. For example, we grew, remember when we were doing the Mars Hydrolite many moons ago? We're going back many years now, okay? And then we grew the same genetic under the Mars Hydro, and then we grew it under at the time, it wasn't our lighting systems. We were using HLGs at the time. It was before we released our lighting brand. So the ones growing under the Mars Hydro, they looked great. Buds were decent, right? Decent smoke, pretty good. But the whole plant was like a straw. But everything under the other lights and everything else was the same. We didn't treat them any differently other than their light source. And those plants were rock solid in their stems, where the Mars Hydro had straw stems. A wanted machine? What's a wanted machine? I'm confused now. Oh, I feel you, Sean. I want a good cure too. Sadly, a lot of people, especially in the black market, especially everybody's rushing things to market and they're not going to take the time to finish it properly. So that's where, really, at the end of the day, the only really truly safe way to know you've got great weed and you know what it is, you know how it's been done, is to grow your own. And that's where we've always been a huge advocate of that for over 7 years of teaching people to grow. Is the only truest, safest way. I mean, unless you're my neighbor, is to grow your own. Really, at the end of the day. Uh, Yes, no, definitely for sure. OG Lieutenant Blazer 556. If anything, it's very, very similar. And it's also 420. We missed it by a minute. Happy 420 a minute ago, everybody. All right. What's up, Jason? Hey, good to see you, buddy. Welcome to the show. But yes, OG Lieutenant Blazer 556, like the human body, reacting to different cannabinoids in terms of our cannabinoid endocrine systems. Different strains are going to react to different variables that we tweak with in terms of indoor growing, for sure. But to different light frequencies, different feeds, different things, right? You know, what is good for some is not good for others. And you know, strain wise, that's the same for humans, and grow technique and variables is 100% the same as well for plants. That's part of the fun and how beautiful. Yeah. Oh man, 1220 there, man. Well, welcome to 1220. I believe that's what you mean by that, Eugene Dolan. If not, it's 1:20 a.m. But I believe it's just after midnight there. Let me think here. Yeah, that would make sense because I believe you're 8 hours ahead of us. Oh, right. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, mud swat, that was a big thing for me, especially back in the day. And to be fair, after losing my lab and going through the separation, that was a big thing for me too. You know, it's amazing how when you go from having an entire apartment that you're using as your laboratory to produce things to not having that, how your ability to produce your own medicine changes. Oh, mycelium is a beautiful, mysterious world, Roman Reckless. One of the oldest secondary symbiotic relationships to all Mother Nature out there. I love it. It's very, very cool. Saul Stanley says, is it easy to make hash? It is easy to make basic hash. Is it easy to make great hash once you know what you're doing? It took me almost 20 years to develop my hash making techniques that I utilize to make hashes that remind me of the old school shit, even though my processes to get there are kind of a mixing of old school worlds, huge influence from French cannoli as well, with other new age techniques. And I kind of utilize those two together to make something that I really like. But so, yes, to make basic hash, yes. But it's the same with weed. Is it easy to grow weed? 100%. Growing basic weed is easy as fuck. Growing great or amazing weed is certainly hard. And a big part of it is just nuanced feel, time, practice, and getting used to what you're doing. And also being able to kind of just sort of adapt as you go and roll with the punches and roll with what you see. Have a beautiful night, Blues Man, for you. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. Hell yeah, Brian Nobrigger. You ripped that bone, my friend. You ripped that bone. I got to clean my bong. I haven't hit my bong in a while because I need to clean it out. I've just been so busy. I haven't had time to clean that bong out and get it ready to rip again. You know what I'm saying? Um, Totally. It is 100% like that, Roan Reckless. It's when you start to immerse yourself in the cultivation of cannabis, the breeding of cannabis, the knowledge of cannabis, and then the mycelium world is or mushrooms in general. And we're not just talking the fun ones, everybody. We're talking about mycelium and mushrooms in general. It is one of the coolest things everywhere, anywhere. To be fair, one of the coolest things for myself is like how there's certain parts of the world that have like these ancient mycelium networks that connect giant forests, right? And so if one part of the forest, right, is having issues or there's something bad happening, it communicates to the other parts of the forest through the mycelium network. Mycelium network creates this symbiotic relationship to unify Mother Nature. Some the trees will even send to other trees, for example, basic nutrition and moisture through these mycelium networks to try to help circumvent issue in other parts of the forest. Like that's called standing together. We should build that as the basic mindset of when we try to picture what the Pot Squatch Growers Army and community is. I mean, that's what we all are. We are different, diverse, but together we are all Pot Squatches, and together we just stand in the light that we are full. You know what I'm saying? Blues Band for you. Blue hash plant is my steamroller. Hell, I mean, I love a true hash plant, and I love any form of blueberry, anything. So that sounds like a good time to me, my friend. Tim O'Rourke, except in Star Trek. Except in Star Trek. All right. 1 second here. Oh, Tim, you should show up in our shows more often. I miss your sense of humor. Um, well, my friends, we're approaching sort of the last little part of the show, so I should probably begin to tie things up, shall we say? So simply put, it's been a good week here. We're one day behind. Tomorrow will be exactly 3.5 weeks of flower. So on Sunday, you will have the 4 weeks of flower update video. Again, there will be noticeable differences between the 3 week and the 4 week, but given that our 3 week looks more like a 4 or 5 week, I think the next update will be not quite as intense because right now what they're doing is they're doing a lot of filling now. They've kind of established their initial bulk and now they're filling that in, coming together, tightening that up, and then they're going to explode by week 5. By week 5 should be interesting, everybody. That's my prediction in terms of what we're seeing on the plants. Sing you a departing song. I will do that shortly, Tony. But my friends, my family, if you'd like to support this channel, obviously liking and subscribing, that would be a huge, wonderful, appreciated thing here. Share our videos too. Share our videos out there. Get them out there. It's fun, Actually, I'm gonna share a really fun story that I saw. So I was watching these two, much bigger channels than and I don't even know if they're YouTube channels, but they're like brands I'm aware of, right? Or at least other people in the space. I don't know if they're bigger than me, but like they exist in different circles of the community, shall we say. And so I saw them, deliberating about carbonated water as a technique. And I'm kind of laughing here, watching the same old debate go on. I invented that technique years ago. That's a pot squatch technique. That's a pot squatch invention. I'm not saying I'm the only person in the world who's ever thought of it, but I'd never heard about it anywhere until I came up with it. And I'm the one who perfected it. I'm the one who figured out why and how it does what it does. And it was so funny to me to watch this whole debate going on a technique I developed years later on a forum. And I was just like, that's funny. And a lot of people don't realize, to be fair, I mean, if you're in the know, you should know that it's my technique and I invented it. But two, to watch these people not knowing what my actual name on Facebook is. So it's like to them, I'm just some guy named Josh, but really I'm actually the pot squatch who's kind of quietly tripping in. So I was like, I'm just going to make a small post. And I was like, actually, everyone, simply put, how it functions in terms of boosting production of actual flower, how it boosts resin production, and also the exceptional increasing of anything really in regards to our final product. It's functioning through root agitation. You are correct that roots require oxygen. Well, the extra carbon atom that's being thrown off by the actual reaction of using the carbonated water isn't hurting anything. It is not actually harming anything. It's literally just agitating the roots, which is actually very good. What we're doing is we're triggering a self-defense mechanism within the plant, and so the plant is now then turbocharging itself in terms of every function or self-defense that it has built into its inherent nature. The wonderful thing about using this technique is it doesn't hurt the plant. It just tricks the plant into think it's being hurt. So we get all the benefit with none of the negative. And I just kind of quietly just wrote that in. And I'm sitting there knowing like, this is my technique. Y'all are fucking debating about. This is hilarious. I maybe one or two people that were on the thread even knew that it was a pot squatch technique. And I am actually the pot squatch sort of chiming in. Hello, Tazarello Gaming. Good to see you. I don't know about that, Tim O'Rourke. I try, but thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate the love. But anyway, everybody, it's funny idea. It's funny idea, when you watch techniques you develop years later being, argued over by people. And it's just fun. It's just fun. It's fun to see that I've had an influence on the community over the years and helping to further knowledge, technique, and growability. And now we're doing genetics for everybody too. Hell, we're a CBD line, we're a lighting brand, we're a lot of things. But it's fun to see, and it means a lot to me. What can I say for everybody that they can walk away from this show? Well, we're back. Okay, I can officially say this. Pot Squatch is back. This is we're back to doing what we do, baby. And it's only going to get better from here, everybody. The good news is, since we're shooting in October, November now, this won't be my last grow. We're gonna get a bunch of fun things going. True, Roman. You could totally argue that as well, 100%. But that's a debate for another day, baby. Yes, but Dr. Frankenstein, the thing is the root systems and how their inherent nature under the ground works is they can't absorb that CO2 or carbon dioxide into a positive way. Okay, so that's where like a lot of people are like, well, roots need oxygen; they can't even absorb CO2 in the way you're talking. Wow, yes, but the actual carbon atom that's coming off there, okay, because it's fragile, and that's where the bubbles come from and our agitation is coming from. It's that by agitating that root ball and hitting it everywhere where it hurts, even though it only thinks it hurts, it doesn't hurt it actually, and that's where these things. But again, Roman, we could totally do that, in another show and have fun on that one. I enjoyed that. But simply put, my friends, my family, thank you for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, all that crap. Check out the Pot Squatch Growers community on Facebook. It is a place for all pot squatches. Please answer the questions. It's a liability. I need you to answer the bloody questions so you can actually come into the show and everything will be all good. It would be a good one, Roman. I would have a lot of fun with that. Check out our store, potsquatchsales.com. It's where you're going to buy all your hats, t-shirts, CBD beard oil, all of your CBD shit, your grinders, your rolling papers, all that crap. Our genetics, they're on there too. Huh? What? Yep. Potsquatchsales.com, everybody. www.potsquatchsales.com. Potsquatchgrowers.com also works. I own that domain, and I just directed it to our new store, potsquatchsales.com. For those of you who are concerned about, I don't like using a credit card to pay for things. Everybody, this website has been written by handed code. It is arguably more secure than any government website out there. We have internet security that we've programmed, built ourselves, and by ourselves, I mean my computer programmer, Luna, our superstar, our super digital security expert. And at the end of the day, we even built our own payment portal. Everything is secure. You are safe. It's going to be okay. But anyway, my friends, my family, thank you for tuning in the show. And remember, the true grower is the forever student. The true grower is not afraid to take risks. The true grower makes educated, stupid decisions. Love yourselves, love your plants. And remember, there's 1,001 highways to the same end destination. Keep an open mind, remember what you know, but don't write something off even if you don't get it at first. And be nice to each other, goddammit. This world's dark enough. A little bit of compassion goes a long way. We don't have to agree on everything or even get along or believe in the same bullshit to still be friends and family in a community. If we're all the bloody same, I'd get awfully bored and have to off myself. All right, everybody. Diversity is beauty. Keep it real. Keep it sexy. We'll see you next time. Word to your mother. Pot Squatch out!